Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today I have a very special guest for you, Watchen Harris Bruce. Watchen is the president and CEO of Baltimore Community Lending. Welcome to the show, Watchen.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. So before we go into your personal story, if you can give the audience just a brief general overview of who is Baltimore Community Lending.
Sure. Thank you. Baltimore Community Lending, BCL for short, is a community development financial institution or CDFI, mission-based lender. What we do, we provide loans to small businesses and small to medium-sized real estate developers in underserved communities in the Baltimore region. So BCL has been around for 33 years, and we are helping a lot of small businesses access capital. We provide loans, but we also provide comprehensive training, coaching, mentoring, and technical assistance to help the businesses that ordinarily will not be able to access capital from traditional banks because they don't have the kind of balance sheet and the criteria. But we offer flexible financing below market for a small business, both startups and existing businesses and real estate developers to do affordable housing and economic development in the region.
I love that. Can't wait to go into all the different programs you have to offer. But before we go there, are you originally from the Maryland area or where are you from?
No, I'm not originally from Maryland area, but I've been in Maryland for many years. Actually, I'm originally from Liberia, West Africa. I grew up in Liberia, but I came to the U.S. in 1980. And so I've been here for many, many years.
Been here for a long time.
Yeah.
So when you left, how old were you when you came to the United States, when you left Liberia?
I was right out of my first college, it was 1980. I was very young. Let me put it that way. I was young, practically just out of college.
Okay.
And I started my career in 1980. But I came from Liberia and I was still a young person.
Sure. So you grew up in Liberia. What part of Liberia are you from?
Well, I grew up on a farm.
Okay.
My parents they had a farm in an area called Carisburg. Carisburg is like 20 miles out of the city, Monrovia, but they were farmers and entrepreneurs. So that's where I grew up as a farmer daughter. And they did agri businesses. They had a lot of different businesses. And that's where I grew up.
Would you help out your parents with the farm?
Oh, yeah, sure. What we did was not just the production. Of course, we had a lot of employees, but I helped them with the sale. We had a lot of shops, and my mother had a bakery, which we produce a lot of value-added products from our farm. We had something, a sugarcane farm, rubber farm, cash crops. So we also had provision shops. So I was in school, but helping up in the provision shops to sell to the community and the farmers. And we had over 200 employees. So it was a big operation.
Oh, wow. It is a big operation. Okay. When I'm thinking of farm life, typically here it's hard. You wake up early, go, I don't know if there's any animals or livestock or.
Yes.
Okay.
We had livestock too. We have had a lot of cows or pigs, and of course, chickens, which is, cattle and stuff. But the point is, we had workers, but my father ran the farm, and my mother ran the provision shops. But we had a lot of people working there, so it was not just him. But it was early morning, getting up at 4 a.m. to go to work. Yes.
So when you left there, you said you came here to the States for college?
Well, I left Liberia in 76, and out of high school, I went to a private school, and then I went to Ivory Coast, Abidjan. That was my first degree in French at the University of Abidjan in the Ivory Coast. And then I came to the States after I graduated in 1980 to Houston, Texas. That's where my career started in banking, 1981 at First City National Bank in Houston, Texas.
How was that experience? Like, was it your first time visiting, arriving at this country, or have you?
Yes, that was my
Okay,
first time, but I have family members in Houston, Texas. But I did come 1980 to go to school, and I also started working to help myself.
sure. But I'm sure the life in Liberia compared to when you arrived in Houston was very different. How was that experience for you when you first arrived to this country?
Well, I mean, the difference was it was cold when I came during the winter time. But pretty much Liberia, we were not ready in the rural area. We were in more of a suburban area, even though we were on a farm. We had a farm, but we had a quality of life.
Hmm.
So, but the difference was the culture difference was it was cool, but it was winter time when I came in October 1980, but also just adjusting to the different culture. In essence, Liberia was founded by free American slaves. So we have a mixed culture of African, but we watch the same TV, in terms of it has some similarities
Hmm.
and differences. But the difference was just getting accustomed to the way how the pace was very fast coming from Africa here.
Hmm.
And people, but I was down south, so they were very slow. So in essence, it was not a big difference. So
Sure.
coming down south was very close to coming from where I came from. It was not that fast. Yeah.
And you said you went to work at a bank, and at the same time you were going to school as well?
Yes, I was in school at University of Houston, finishing up my accounting degree, but I was also working at a bank called First National Bank, downtown Houston. That's where I started because I did a trade school in Liberia, a community college. So I did have a bachelor's in accounting. So when I came over, it was easier for the transition because I was familiar with accounting functions. So I took a test and passed. That's how they hired me to work part-time as a loan accountant in the bank because I had similar, because I had the skill set to fit in the culture. Yeah,
After that bank watching, you also, most of your career has been in finance and banking, right?
that's correct. For the past 30 plus years, it's always been banking and finance. So after I left University of Houston, where I started my banking, as I said, with First City National Bank. Now today is JP Morgan Chase because they did merge. And then I was recruited to New England, which is Boston, Massachusetts, to work for Bank of New England. And that was in the late 80s, 1986 or so. I was in Boston and I worked for many banks in Boston, including Fleet Bank, Bank of Boston, Bank of America, Federal Home Loan Bank. And the last bank was Fleet Bank, which was merged with Bank of America. And that's when I came to Maryland later on in 2004, actually. Well, but I also work with NeighborWorks America, which is a federal agency that focuses on affordable housing. But then I started working with Fleet Bank 2008. So, and that's how I was in the Baltimore area.
Most of your roles in banking, what do they entail?
Most of what it entailed was community economic development, focus on lending to real estate developers. It was mostly real estate, doing development, development finance.
Hmm.
Primarily, that's what I did, development finance, financing developers to develop single-family homes, multi-family homes, as well as community facilities. But it was mainly working in development finance and working with for-profit and non-profit developers to stabilize various communities. But when I left Fleet PNC Bank, which was the last from 2012 to 2016, 19, I was working overseas, back in Liberia with USAID, which is the United States Agency for International Development. I was managing an economic development project, access to finance also, but with small businesses, helping them access financing to start or expand businesses. But also I trained the bankers on cash flow lending. And so that project was great because I was recruited to go back to help my country where I was originally from, because I came as a kid and I went back as an adult. So that was a great experience. For 7 years, I worked there helping small businesses to access capital in the agriculture sector and renewable energy sector.
Oh, that's so nice. And when I'm thinking, are you going also on site to these farms and talking to the
Yes,
farmers? Okay, okay.
definitely. The project was very focused on rural areas. So it was an agribusiness project. So the project was focused on working with farmers, mainly women and low-income farmers. So I did a lot of site visit. All my staff were in the various counties. So I got to visit them and also do workshops and training. But it was post-harvest project. Meaning we help them to add value to the production by providing processing machines, access to market, training them how to operate the business. And so it was really farming as a business, not just doing business, very much adding value and marketing it for procurement with supermarkets and hotels. So that was the project, access to finance, but access to market.
It sounds like that project was more hands-on with the community compared to the previous roles with banking, which was more just on the lending side of things. Is that right or no?
Well, yes, that was very hands-on because but also with community lending, it is hands-on. We have to meet our customers. It is not calling an 800 number. Most of my projects, we have to do site visit and we provide technical assistance or coaching. The coaching, there was no Zoom or we had to go in person. So everything was face-to-face or telephone. So all of my roles, I had to meet the customers because we had to structure the deal to meet them where they were and meet their needs. So you couldn't have done that back then on Zoom.
Sure.
Or telephone. You had to meet them and help them to prepare their financials to meet our credit criteria. So even though it was banking, but it was the part of the bank that did community development banking. I was not a pure commercial lender. I was a business banker, but my focus was on businesses in the community.
Was there a reason you decided to go this route compared to, for example, other loans or doing other things?
Yes, it was part of my passion for helping people help themselves. And the way I grew up, that's what my parents did. They always helped people and they empower people to help themselves. So I've always been attractive to people who needed more help than those who could do it for themselves. I mean, I did pure lending before, but I didn't like it because it was just online and 800 number. I like to see people and talk to them and assess their needs and recommend a product. So I like the community development field because we're really making a difference and impacting communities. Unlike that's the difference between a community development financial institution and a commercial bank. A commercial bank is selling a product, but community development is helping people identify the right product that will help them access resources to start or grow their businesses. To do that, you have to lead them and assess their needs and to be able to guide them, push them, mentor them. So I'm acting more as an advisor, not just a lender. Yeah. And
I love.
yeah.
Mhm. I love that, Watch, and it's more about building that relationship instead of just a one-off transaction, a lending
Exactly.
transaction.
Right. So relationship is very important. And I strongly believe in that because without relationship, you cannot build trust. And in order for people to trust you, they have to get to know you. How are they going to know you if you don't meet them? They have to get to know me, and I have to get to know them. So we build trust, build relationship, and to be able to come up with transformation, you have to believe each other. And it's not just the products. There are a lot of products out there. But the point is, a relationship is important because people do business with people they like and know. If I don't like you, I won't want to do business with you. Isn't that true?
So true.
So the bottom line is I have to get to know you. And it's a personality thing. You have to get to understand where they are and how you can help them. So my career in community development finance nationally and internationally had to do with building relationships and helping people help themselves financially.
After that 7-year role and you going back home, what made you come back to the States, back to the Maryland area?
Well, with USAID, I don't know, but federal contracts, they do end. Projects start and they have a start date and they have an end date. I definitely wanted to go back, but the project ended. So I was redeployed, but it was a great experience. And I was hoping to stay, but it didn't work out. Yeah, so that was the end of the project. So I redeployed. But fortunately for me, that's how BCL came about, because I was recruited to manage BCL as a CEO. And so that's why I am now. And I'm doing similar work in Baltimore because I am making a difference and helping transform underserved communities in the Baltimore area. So it's very similar.
How long have you been at BCL for?
Almost 3 years, 2019. Okay. Yeah. I came back 2019, October, and I started November 2019 at BCL.
So very similar programs as far as building relationship now, all within the Baltimore community. You said with developers, real estate developers, small real estate developers, as well as small businesses in the community, right?
Yes.
And you have different types of programs, or how does that work as far as what BCL has to offer?
Well, what BCL has to offer, we have two main products. We have three. One is small business loan fund. We work with businesses that do not have large balance sheet or who may not ordinarily qualify for traditional financing because either they have low credit scores, no collateral, or they do not have the track record that a bank requires. Most banks require 3 years financial statements. So most of these are small businesses and the loans are all under $1 million. So it's small loans. We do micro loans from as low as $10,000 to $150,000. So those are small loans. So, but there's a niche. People need that in order to grow. So we work with them. The second product is we provide training and technical assistance, which mean one-on-one coaching to help them with their businesses. We do that before they get the loans and after they get the loans. So, and during the whole term. So we handhold them through the process. That's the second product. The third product we have for loan product for real estate developers, but that's commercial real estate. We work with developers who are small or medium size, who do not have a large balance sheet to go to traditional financing. And our loans are $2 million and below, from as low as $250,000 to $2 million. And we do the same thing. We provide technical assistance, training, coaching, mentoring, but we also work with them to structure the deal to help them manage their cash flow. Right.
So many questions to go into now. With the real estate side of things, you said minimum about 250,000 up to 2 million maximum, right?
But the average has been like 500,000.
500,000. Okay. And you mentioned this is commercial real estate. So is it multifamily? Is it homes, or is it?
Yes, it's commercial real estate. We do community facilities like daycare, senior center, even nonprofit owner-occupied real estate. We will do that. It's all investments, not retail. And we do commercial mortgages, which is for developers to acquire, for acquisition, construction, and then permanent loans. So it's from acquisition all the way to occupancy. But sometimes the units are sold. So it's home ownership, but the developers will sell the units to first-time home buyer or whomever. But the point is we are not involved in the retail side, which is mortgages. We do the commercial side for the supply side. Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes even almost like condos, they want to develop condos, or do you do also multifamily? Let's say if
We
someone
do
wants to, okay,
multifamily and single family, but
okay,
it's mostly apartments, multifamily,
sure.
more than 4 units, and but all single family scattered sites, or commercial.
Industrial,
Yeah, we have
retail, office.
non-commercial, yeah, industrial.
Okay,
So it could
okay,
be a shopping center or a community facility of healthcare, schools, or something like that. But all in the community, it has to be serving the low to moderate income communities. We do not do high income neighborhoods.
okay. And with these loans, I guess, are you selling them? You mentioned it's not retail,
No,
or no?
no,
Okay,
it's portfolio in-house.
okay, got
We
it.
manage
Okay,
it ourselves from origination to processing. We underwrite everything and we can manage it in-house.
okay.
So it's portfolio in-house. Yeah.
For the business side of things, the business loans when financing businesses, you mentioned term earlier, so are they different times as far as the length of the term of the loan?
Yes, those are all term loans, and we are in the process of developing line of credit. So the terms can go up from 5 to 7 years. But it is term loan, it's below market, and we do not even require collateral. What we do to mitigate our risk, that's why we do the training and the technical assistance. It's more like building trust relationship, but we also require reserve. We set aside what we call loan loss reserve to mitigate our investors' risk. But we do not ask the borrowers for collateral if they do not have it. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Well, that's good to know. And you said the terms are about 5 years, I think you mentioned?
Yes, five to
Okay,
7 years.
okay, I see. And then again, also portfolio, it all stays in-house, right?
Everything is portfolio. We manage it in-house.
Is there also a minimum loan amount for the business side?
Yes, 10,000 to 50,000 is for emerging business startups. And then 50,000, 51,000 to 150 is for growth businesses, those who are already in business. So we have growth businesses and we have startups.
You also mentioned just now as far as below market. Were you referring to the rates there or?
We're talking about the interest rate.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's good.
Considering the loans are risky, we
Hmm.
are not like other lenders. We still charge below market. A lot of our borrowers, almost 80%, is people of color and women-owned businesses. So we do charge less than competitors.
That's great. I guess from the both business and real estate side of things, overall the portfolio is at 50-50 with businesses and real estate loans, or how does that look?
No, no, the real estate has been around for 30 plus years. Our small business, the organization started strictly with doing the affordable housing and economic development loans since 1989. But the small businesses were only started 5 years ago. So it's a lot smaller.
Okay. And I assume you're focusing to grow that a little bit more, the
Oh,
business
yes,
side.
we are growing
Okay.
it. We are. Of course, every year is increasing. Right now, it's only, up to 5 million, but it started, 4 years ago, actually. So it is growing, and we have hired more new loan officers to grow the portfolio.
How are most people finding you if it's a first time borrower customer?
Okay, we have different mechanisms for marketing. We do aggressive marketing, either online, social media, but we also get a lot of referral from existing customers. But another thing we do, we have relationship with a lot of banks because we are capitalized by the U.S. Department of Treasury, which is a CDFI fund. It's a government agency. They capitalize us. And we also get funding from banks and foundations, as well as public and private foundations. So they refer people to us. So our banking partners will refer deals to us, like the branch manager or the business bankers. If they cannot do it and turn down a loan, they will refer them to us. And then we will work with them, season them, and then send them back to the bank partners who send them to us. But we get referrals from a lot of banks, as well as through the website. We have a website. I'm sure you visited our website. People visit our website because we are one of the very few CDFIs in this DMV area. There's not a lot doing small business either. So very few. So we get a lot of referrals from the CDFI fund.
If someone's listening or watching this, and they're a business owner and they're considering they need funding for their business, and they're obviously in Baltimore, and they're thinking, what's the difference between, you hear everyone first thing they think about is SBA, Small Business Administration. But now maybe they haven't heard of BCL, and they're like, okay, so I guess what are the differences between? And I'm sure it's drastic. It is a big difference.
Well, SBA is not a lender. SBA guarantees loan. We are a SBA lender, a micro lender. So SBA will work with SBA because they guarantee our loan. But we provide the capital and we provide the lending, but they mitigate our risk. SBA is a credit enhancement. They are not lenders. So you cannot go to SBA and say, I want a loan. They will refer you to a lender, but they will guarantee the lender's loan. So now BCL is not in the whole DMV area. We are just in the Baltimore metro area, meaning we are only in 5 counties because we cannot spread our wings so fast because we are still growing. So we cover the Baltimore metropolitan area. Yeah.
What is the geographic area? You mentioned the county, so I assume Baltimore City, Baltimore County.
Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Hartford, Anne Arundel, Howard, and Cara.
Okay. That's good to know, and just in case someone's hearing this.
Right.
Is there any specific types of businesses or even real estate properties that you prefer not to lend to?
Well, once it's we really don't have any restrictions. The only thing on the small businesses, we normally lend to any business that's legal.
Sure.
Once it's legal, and it is an opportunity to create jobs and stabilize an entrepreneur, becoming a self-employed or even increasing their net worth. Because 2 things people have to remember in order to increase your net worth or your wealth, you either start a business or you have ownership in a real estate. So the equity in the real estate will help you increase your net worth. Same with businesses. With the extra revenue you get from a business, of course, you will have expenses too. But having your own business will help you with your net worth. So bottom line, those are the 2 things people come to us for, because they're looking for either extra way to increase their income or to start a business. And that's why we work with owner entities. We do not work with individuals. You are individual, but you want to start a business. So real estate developers are in the business of developing real estate, and they get paid for doing that.
Yeah. I'm curious now, as far as loan terms and everything else. I know you mentioned it's about 5 or 7 years. Is it principal and interest, or do you have programs where it's just interest only?
No, principal and interest.
Okay.
But sometimes after the loan closes, borrower may ask for deferment until certain months before they start paying, and then we would do interest only for that time. But normally it's P&I after closing.
Yeah, you were just mentioning earlier, as far as is legal, pretty much you're open to lending. It just made me think, I'm in commercial real estate, and I get calls recently with medical dispensaries Yeah, and unfortunately, most landlords, they do have a loan on the property, and even though at a federal level it may be, it's okay, it's not illegal, but locally they're not able to.
Yeah, but you can refer them to us.
Oh, you do them? Okay.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is we don't have one now in our portfolio, but we have different types of businesses with transportation, a lot of medical
Okay.
facilities. We've had a lot of restaurants, of course. Our portfolio is very diverse. So we have everything from childcare to bar and restaurants. And as I said, anything that's legal, once it's legal and approved by the state or the federal government, we will do it.
I'm glad to hear restaurants. I have many restaurant clients, and I know I'm not a banker, but I know a lot of banks prefer not to lend in that type of business just because
Yeah,
of the
we
risk.
do a lot of restaurants. It's the smaller ones,
Sure.
but up to, just to help them with working capital or
What
owner occupied. Yeah.
what would you say, watching, that motivates you and drives you?
Well, what drives me is to help people achieve their goals and objectives. As I said earlier, for me, success means empowering people, helping them with what they need. And what motivates me is to see them achieving their goals. So I like to work with people if they want to work with me. But what motivates me is to see the transformation in people's lives from where they started to where they are. For example, seeing somebody purchasing a home or starting a business where ordinarily they could not have done it because they didn't have credit, a high credit score, or didn't have collateral. But we help them and we work with them to, access the necessary resources, not just the capital, but we do a lot of training and hand holding them through the process until they stabilize.
Is there maybe a customer that comes to mind as far as success, how BCL has helped them as far as how they started and their journey to where they are today that you can think of?
Yes, we have a lot of success stories. I mean, we have a lot for real estate and small business. I give you a sample for real estate guy who came to us. He was more like a rehabber, buying
Like
fixer
house
uppers,
flipper?
flipper,
Yeah.
and buying one house on a block and flipping it. But he really did not have experience as a developer. So he came to us for money for acquisition. And what we did is had to work with him on developing a budget to look at the whole picture in terms of from acquisition, getting his site control, helping him to select his GC, general contractor, helping him to understand the trades that you need a carpenter, plumber, electrician that are licensed. Because so you are in real estate, you understand. People
Yes.
sometimes hire people who are not licensed and later on they have problems and they get sued. So we have to tell them what the rules and regulations are. We help them vet the contractor or the GC and the whole scoop, even putting together the package in terms of the different types of financing and helping them develop a pre-development budget, making sure they have reserves as well as developers fee in there. Because
Hmm.
some of these rehab, but they only make money when they flip the property. But as a developer, you must have the development fee and cover all your overhead. So those are part of the training. So the success is we have a lot of those who started with us needing only like 200, 300,000. Today, they have outgrown us. They are still working with us because they like our product, but they are doing multi-family units. This particular guy I'm talking about, which is many of them, they are doing like 30, 40 units at a time now, where they started with once or two units. They
Hmm.
could, because they didn't have the cash flow to do it or the capital, but now they are because they have a lot of credits. And all the banks want to lend to them now because we have worked them through after a year or two and they are stabilized. Same thing for real estate. We have a lady who went through just training at University of Baltimore through the real estate program, but it was all theory. She never did a house. So we mentor her to actually purchase a unit with acquisition. It was a single family unit or 2 units, but the point is we help her through the process, and she was able to purchase this multi-family unit, living in one and rented the other to help a young lady in her 30s. So all of those, now she's a developer, she's buying more units. So those are some of the success stories we have, and it's a lot, even with small businesses. We see people opening daycare, especially during the COVID, the pandemic. A lot of businesses we help to pivot from doing things in person to online. We were able to give them additional capital, like a guy who came to our North Bank will lend to him because he's a returning citizen, but he learned electricity trade in prison. So when he came out, he was able to get a contract with Ryan Homes to electrify homes, but nobody would give him a second chance. And so we were able to help him. And now today he's hiring other returning citizens, and he's been back to us for like 4 or 5 times because the bank still would not lend to him, but he has received working capital up to 300 and 400,000 from us to buy his supplies and hire people doing the interim. So we have a lot of people like that now. He has contract from a lot of government agencies and the Minority Contractor Association to do electrician work. So he started with 2 employees. Today he has over 14 employees. So we see those kind of stories all the time.
I love that. Thank you for sharing those stories. I like to hear that, especially how the programs have helped the community.
Yes, yes.
And as you mentioned, they start off small, some of them, and then now they're growing into larger.
Yes, definitely. They are growing to larger and they are hiring other people.
Yeah, there you go. It's just a snowball effect.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. BCL, I know you advise and coach also the customers. I'm sure it's not you. So how does your team there internally look like?
Well, internally, we have a team. I'm part of that team, but even though I'm the CEO, I also work with people at different levels. But then I have loan officers. We have like 20 employees.
Okay.
So internally, we have loan officers, small business loan officers. We have 3 small business loan officers, and we have 3 real estate loan officers. And we have a chief lending officer who manages that group. And on the small business side, we have a director of small business. She manages the small business team. We have loan associates and administrative staff. As well, I have a COO who manages operations, and we have a CFO. So we have, different levels of staff doing operations or back end processing. We do have a portfolio manager also that manages the portfolio. But we all work together because we are a small team.
Watching, if someone comes to you and they wanted to start a new business, any type of business, and what are a few critical items you would suggest for this person to maybe
Yes.
look into before moving forward?
Yes, the first thing we do, especially if it's a small business, we have someone who will provide the technical assistance or coaching. They have to have a business plan. If they do have one, we will review if this person is, we call a technical assistant officer. He reviews your business plan. If you do not have one, we'll give you a template where he will work with you to develop a moderate, business plan to put your concept on paper. Because sometimes people come to us with just concept. Mm-hmm. Others come to us who already have a business, but they never wrote a plan. And the plan helps you guide your business. So we require that because that's the way to mitigate our risk. It's part of the credit enhancement. We want to make sure you understand your business. So that's the first step. The person call me or go to the website or call our TA provider or anyone who they meet him first. And he will pre-screen them. It's the same with real estate. We have another person, a loan associate, who will pre-screen and send the criteria. But on the small business side, they must develop a business plan. And that could take from low as 2 weeks to 3 months, depends on where they want to do. or their urgency. And that person will work with them before referring them to a loan officer to underwrite the loan. But once they get to the loan officer, it's fast. In less than 30 days, they will either get approved or very, very sudden they will turn down. What we would do is tell you what you need to do to get qualified and then come back. But we do not deny them, but we help them get what they need or get, if they have very low credit score, we will refer them to a credit counselor who will work with them on their personal credit before giving them a loan. Yeah.
I love that. You know, I wish I would have known about you when I first bought my first multifamily property in the city there.
Okay.
I remember bringing lenders to tour the property. Not a person wanted to lend to me. And luckily, I have great credit. I had to go the credit card route, start pulling credit, and was able to do the rehab and everything, finish it off like that. But I wish I knew about your organization back then.
But that's good. And you are no exception. A lot of people go through that. And that's what hurt the credit, because they end up using a lot of credit cards to finance acquisition. And we are one of the very few lenders, besides, of course, hard money lender, that would do acquisition of property that's abandoned. So we work with a lot of vacant houses. You know, the city has a lot of vacant units. So, but we will still finance it. So it is risky, but we will help you finance vacant units and stabilize it. So we do a as complete appraised value after. Yeah. So we do that also.
That's great. Are there any specific habits or traits you feel that have helped you, whether on your professional business side of things or just personally?
Well, I think personally, what has helped me is just it's my personality. I'm more of a people person, and I like to talk to people. So if I didn't like people, I don't think I'd be in banking.
Wrong job.
Yeah, it would be the wrong job. So my personality is I like to talk and I like to analyze and I like numbers. Because if I didn't like numbers, I wouldn't be working with people either. But I'm a teacher. So personally, the skill in me is to teach and coach and mentor. So with that, you have to talk to people. I'm not telling them what to do, but I ask a lot of questions to analyze the needs, then I come up with recommendation. So that's who I am in all aspects of my life. I always do that. And secondly, you know, I thank God for who I am, because I enjoy doing what I do and I have a passion for doing it. And I also do volunteer services in my field. So I also use my skill to help other community development corporations that's trying to do it as a business. But I volunteer services free to others. Yeah.
That's great. What would you say is your biggest challenge with your role at BCL today?
Well, the biggest challenge is with the changing environment. That's a lot going on right now. And the biggest challenge for me, and has been all through, people are not patient. They want things yesterday. And doing real estate or any loan is a process. You have to go through A before you get to Z. People want to come and say, I want a loan, and they want it tomorrow. But with real estate, it's a process, because we have to take an application, we have to do appraiser, we have to, you know, it's a process.
Sure.
So the biggest thing is helping people understand that it doesn't happen overnight. You have to be patient. And if I was not patient, I wouldn't be in this role, because people come to me and they say, oh, well, I need it now, and I can't wait. And they want it to be done, but they don't do their part in terms of submitting documentation. But they expect you to give them a loan. I mean, it's like we are still in business, even though it's not, we are a nonprofit lender, but we have to cover our overhead. And we do that by the fee income and interest income that we earn to pay our employees' salaries and pay our rent. And people want things free. Because they think you're a nonprofit, it should be free. And that's not how it works. So as a CEO, I have to coach my staff too, to be patient and understand we are working with a different population. we have to work with them and educate them first, because sometimes not everybody is watching. I mean, I'm patient, but it does not mean all my staff will be. So, but I work with them to make sure we have a mission statement. And our mission statement is to work with people who are underserved and communities who have been told no so many times. Sometimes I understand why people get frustrated because they've been around all around. And they come to us, they're already burned with high money lenders giving them money and charging a lot, and they're going through foreclosure and they need the money today. And then we telling them you have to do all these different things. But that's part of the process. So we have to educate and relate to what they are going through. So those are some of the skills I have, more like a counselor. I guess because I'm a Christian too. I learned to counsel people like a social banker. So that's what I am, a social banker.
You're also part psychologist too, I'm sure.
Exactly. So in the bank, I always told people I was a social banker because sometimes people come to me with their personal issues, which had nothing to do with the loan. But they would come and tell me the stories, what they're going through, could be divorces, just family issues. They come and tell me that. And I sometimes pray with them. And I'll calm them, and that builds a relationship before we even talk business. So I act as a counselor. Yeah.
That's great. Watch it. What do you know now that you wish you would have known at the start of your business career?
Well, what I know now, it's when I started the business, I started when real estate was very difficult in the early 90s. There were a lot of the economy clash in Texas only, that's where I was. So there were a lot of foreclosure, the S&F, the savings and loan banking crash, and a lot of people lost their homes. And what we had to do is work with people to help them deal with the issues. So back then, I had to learn how to restructure debt. I started my banking career as a lender, but there were a lot of bank closures and foreclosure. So I started doing workouts and restructuring debt. And so what I had to learn is how to help people avoid workouts and restructuring and foreclosure. You can have it prevented if you are proactive. So as a lender, I rather work with people to trust me, to help them, to come to me, to talk to me before it gets late. Because restructuring and foreclosure is never good. There's no good experience in losing your home or losing your business. So it's always good to have a relationship with your banker. So my lesson is work with them to get to trust you so they can feel free to call you when they're having problems instead of wait until foreclose. So that's the lesson I share with the younger people working with us, is to make their customer comfortable that they would not run away from them when they are having problems. So because of that, we do not have any delinquency in a small business past 5 years. We do not have any defaults because people come to us before they get in trouble.
Okay.
Right? That's a principle we have to keep. Yeah.
Did you notice any difference going through COVID here the past 2, 3 years? And as far as how did it affect your borrowers?
Yes, a lot of borrowers need a deferment. So in essence, a lot of business had to shut down. So what we had to do is defer those loans for like 3, 6 months and work with them to pivot their businesses. Like those who had restaurants, we made sure they were able to get online platform to start doing takeouts or catering. And even people who had in-person daycare, they started doing training online. I mean, we worked with them at their businesses, but we did not write off anyone because they all resumed paying after 6 months. 50% of our portfolio were not paying, but they didn't default. So once things pick up, we were able to even raise funding to help give grants to businesses to help them with their cash flow to pay their bills during that period. Yeah. So we didn't have any defect.
Oh, I love that. That's good. Coming to an end here shortly, what does the future look like for you and BCL?
For me and BCL, I think we have a lot of opportunities to continue doing what we are doing because there's a huge need for our services and our products. So the future is unlimited. And I may not be there forever, but I want to make sure I have a succession of people who will take over and continue the legacy, but also continue the good work of BCL. And we look forward to, continue working with Curate and other organizations that we form in partnerships with. Because we form a lot of partnership with various organizations, nonprofit and for-profit. Community development, you cannot do it by yourself. You have to have other partners. And our training, we want to make sure we continue because it's a needed product.
Yeah, it's a team effort.
Yes, a team effort.
You mentioned your partnership with Curate. What is that exactly?
Well, Curate, as you know, it's providing training for 10 weeks to work in the food and security industry. We're working with restaurants and packaging, but it's foods insecure counties. We are working with them to make sure to provide training to both even farmers on Eastern Shore, Charles County, and different counties. So we are working with Curate. They are providing the training, but we are there to support them in terms of helping the businesses access resources. But we also are there to mentor and push them too. For Curate, we are working. It was funded by University of Maryland Medical Systems. And so we are working in Charles County, PG County, Eastern Shore, Baltimore County, as well as Hartford and Baltimore City. So as of right now, we are taking applications for free 10-week small business acceleration program, which is training them on how to package the businesses and have it procured at the hospital, University of Maryland Medical Center.
That's great. Watching, when you're not busy working, what do you like to do for fun in your free time?
That's a good question. Believe me, I'm very busy. I don't have my work at work is like my everyday work because even weekends I'm very involved with other nonprofits. I sit on the board of my church, a CDC, which is they have a community development cooperation. So I work with them on Saturdays. I go to church. I'm very involved with my church. So I am involved with ministry, and I do a lot of coaching to small businesses that are faith-based. So I work with a lot of faith-based institutions to help businesses to do business God's way. So that's the other hat I wear.
That's great. You're always giving back.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
I was just on a meeting yesterday in Howard County in Columbia with a religious organization headquartered out of Ghana.
Wow.
Yeah,
Good.
then they're looking to expand and finally have their own space. And I was touring them some space in Howard County there. But I'm happy to hear, Watching, that you're always giving back, even to religious organizations, as you just mentioned.
I do work with a lot of faith-based institutions. I would love to connect with them, but I'm helping them to find sustainable ways to increase their revenues instead of depending on tithes and offerings. So that's the other thing I do. I do business coaching to churches to think out of the box and to help them with sustainable ways to generate other revenues other than thinking about just tithes and offerings. So that's something I have a passion to do.
That's great. I would love to connect you. They're great people.
Great.
Watch it. If people want to learn more about you and BCL, where can they go to find out more information, please?
Well, the best way right now is our website. It's bclending.org, bclending.org. That's the best way because we are working hybrid, so we may not always be in the office. But our telephone number is there and our email is there, and that's the best way to reach me. All our telephone numbers are there. So once you call, you'll be able to reach someone. So it's just bclearning.org or .org.
Okay. Watchen, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
It's amazing to hear what you're doing and how you're helping the community. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to share. And I do have a passion for what I do. So I hope, we'll be able to spread the word, the message to other people who want to work with us.
Yes, it is. It's amazing. Thank you so much again. Take
Okay,
care.
thank you. Okay, bye-bye. Have a blessed day.
You too. Bye.